What's up? My name's Glue Boy. Welcome back, and green screen. We're back, but not gonna waste time going into that. Today we got a fun topic. I covered this kinda as like my third video ever, because today we're talking about Horus, the man himself with his bald ass head and his nose tube. Lovable good old Horus. And most of this is honestly just because I've been reading the Horus Heresy books now that I have a job that allows me to actually use headphones and kind of let me listen to audiobooks a lot more. And I just wrapped up with the Flight of the Eisenstein, and I want a method to kind of gush about the Horus Heresy right now. So Horus is our game today. But anyways, let's just get into this guy, the man who completely fucked the universe because of one little rebellion. So like every other Primarch, Horus was launched into space by the Chaos Gods due to Big E's little bit of fuckery with the warp, and he went flying to the planet of Chthoniya, a long since dormant mining planet that was essentially just a hollowed out rock of catacombs and like complexes and gang warfare. It was like Necromunda, like 0.5 before Necromunda was a thing. And I'm gonna do something here that other 40k YouTubers really haven't done. I'm gonna get into Horus's backstory. Now, admittedly, there's not a lot, because Horus's backstory is a bit mysterious, as in Chthoniya, the planet he landed on, has like no records of his existence. And there's a very good reason for it, because he wasn't known as Horus when he was on there. He was known as Nugoi, which is a name I'm pretty sure I just horribly butchered. I am too American to know what this means, so we're just going to call him Little Horus. Not to be confused with the actual Little Horus, different guy, but bear with me. So Little Horus was essentially a ganger on this planet. So Little Horus here was born into a gang, or well, adopted into one, which is kind of the game plan when you're living on Chthoniya. Shit sucks, everything's gang violence, so you kind of got to make do. His adopted dad brought him into it, which he was like the runt of the gang. And that's the important part. Little Horus here was like tiny like young kid kind of deal. Which is strange, because Primarch. But that's the thing. He kept having these visions of this far-off golden planet and aspirations of something greater. That, and also, he had this weird regeneration ability. He just recovered from injuries super quickly, which these visions eventually led him to climb out of the catacombs of Chthoniya and reach the surface, where the Admech have kind of shacked up on Chthoniya, just excavating of any old mining shit, and they were currently excavating a strange looking pod, like a Primarch pod. And when he was actively investigating, the Admech caught him and were like, hey, what are you doing over there? And one of them went to actually go deal with Horus. Well, actually, not exactly kill him from what it seemed like. They might have just wanted to grab him. They might have known what he was. But he actually killed the Admech in the process and ran back down to his gang hideout, which there his adopted dad got kind of upset, like, you've killed us all. Fucking slapped Horus to the ground real big. And Horus got back up and immediately stabbed his dad in the heart. Which, as a cultural thing on Chthoniya, you gain your kill name. Whereas when you kill someone for the first time, you get kind of a name for it. It's a cultural thing when a planet full of violence. Where his adopted dad, in one last final whisper, gave him his kill name for murdering him. Where then, when he received it, everything made sense. Suddenly, memories filled. Body swelled, muscles grew, hair fell out, and he was Horus, that we all know and love. Weird as shit. The shit I explained here is about as good as you get in the actual short story it is. It doesn't explain much, other than he was just a random kid on Chthoniya till he became Horus. But main point, he eventually got out and met up with Big E, who immediately took him on board. Which, in his travels with Big E, he bonded with the Emperor really well, mainly because Horus was the first Primarch found, unless you believe Alpharius' take, where he was actually the first because he landed on Earth, but it's Alpharius here, can you really trust him? But because of this kind of like alone time between him and his dad, they bonded super fast, actually had like a legit father-son relationship. This is the part of like the movie where you have the happy montage of bright, cheery music as they're skipping through a field of aliens just cutting them all down, which then eventually more and more Primarchs got found and got added to the crusade. And all of them liked Horus a lot. Well, at least initially, except for two, really. Angron, because like Angron hates everybody. He's just angry all the time. And then Corvus Corax, who, okay, admittedly, Horus kind of fucked up because Horus kind of ordered Corax to do something in a big battle that wasn't stealth, which is frankly not even biased here for liking Corvus, but like that was a stupid fucking move on Horus's part. I don't know how you tell the stealth guy to do something not stealthy. But eventually all the Primarchs were discovered and they led onto a massive crusade known as the Ullanor Crusade, which was a giant war against the orcs. It was just big and eventually led to probably the biggest victory in the era of the Great Crusade, where the Emperor held a giant parade and in that moment named Horus War Master. War Master being the rank that is essentially like one step below Emperor, where Horus would lead the Great Crusade in the Emperor's stead as he went back to Terra to work on his very secret projects, which caused some problems, mainly because his brothers had some problems with it. Well, some of them. It divided a rift between the brothers he cared about. Primarily, the ones that were real pissed off about it were Perturabo, Angron, Lionel Johnson, Lehman Russ, Conrad Kurz. Though Lehman Russ and Lionel Johnson more were kind of just an issue with the fact that they believed they deserved the title War Master. Because I'm at least in the lion's sake, he had as much conquered worlds as Horus. The difference is he had no charisma at all. So he was just not a great leader for a campaign like this. I mean, listen, Lionel Johnson fans, like, I get it, he's cool and all, but he would have been a shit pick. That and stuff like Angron is just still angry, Conrad Kurz is insane, Perturabo is just a man-child and whiny that he didn't get to be the role, but again, why in the world would he be that position? That's stupid. However, now that Horus was War Master, he started doing War Master things, like waging war and ordering his brothers around. But there was a problem, as doubt started to kind of fester into Horus's mind, and that doubt started to turn into some form of resentment, as the Emperor just kind of like ditched Horus. And while he had to deal with feelings of like, am I worthy enough? Am I worth this position? Which in fact, like, he even later said in full traitor form, he honestly wished Lionel Johnson got this position. But the main problem was the fact that the Emperor just fucking left. And just left him to do all the work, because the Emperor decided that he had his own secret projects and they were that very secret, because the Emperor was working on two major things at the time. First, starving out the Chaos Gods. No one knew about Chaos or the secrets of the war. No one knew. The Emperor figured if no one knew, they couldn't get corrupted, and if no one knew, no one would be worshipping them, which would start out the Chaos Gods. Dumb move. He was working on a method to brute force his way into the Eldar webway so they just wouldn't have to deal with the warp at all, thus also helping kill the Chaos God. The problem is that the Emperor didn't tell Horus. When Horus was like, hey, Pops, what you doing? What you gonna be working on? The Emperor pulled the move that is now kind of memed on, where right after telling Horus, you're my most trusted son, I only trust you to lead this war in my stead, then immediately turned around and said, I don't trust you enough to tell you this information. Kind of a slap in the face, doesn't feel good. That and even more, to add more little shit cherries on top, the Emperor started adding a lot of bureaucracy to the Imperium, mainly in the form of the High Lords of Terra, who were just regular ass people leading the shit. Largely to note, no Space Marines or Astartes were on that council. And also Remembrancers, who were essentially just humans that were forced to tag along with these Crusade fleets as artists and journalists and documentarians to deal with the Space Marines, which a lot of which were kind of annoyed that these regular ass humans were kicking around on their flagship. But shit really started to turn on the moon of Davin, where a Nurgle corrupted Space Marine stabbed Horus with this funny little sword. Now this sword, fun fact for you CSM players, this sword is actually rumored to be the murder blade that relic you can take in the game. Kind of fun, not confirmed if it is, but it probably is. Which, this sword was kind of magical in a way, and mortally wounded Horus and put him into a coma, like right away. Which, luckily, guess who was there already hanging out with the War Master this time? Erebus. Yeah, it was all him. He's the one that planned all of this. Erebus stole this sword from a kind of Xenos-friendly human tribe known as the Interrex, a whole big thing, and also started laying in the groundwork to start corrupting the Space Marine legions. As this point, Lorgar and all the word bearers had already gone full chaosy and decided Erebus would join up with the War Master and mainly spread around this funny little concept of warrior lodges. Now, warrior lodges are essentially secret groups of Space Marines who, when you're part of this secret club with a fun little secret coin, you're allowed to speak freely inside the lodge with your bros and your commanding officers. With no worry of rank, no worry of any of that stuff, it is a fraternity of brothers. Now, it sounds really good on paper. That sounds like a really good thing to have. It's like a Space Marine union kind of. The problem is that in reality, this was a method to spread chaos, corruption, and ideas of treason inside of these legions. So, with the support of some of the Sons of Horus, Erebus led a dark ritual on Davin where he sent Horus on a vision quest, showing him the grimdark future of the 41st millennium, where there's only war, the Emperor is on a golden throne as a god, half the Primarchs erased. He showed him current 40k lore, which Horus obviously was a little fucking pissed. And he decided, yeah, this is what my dad wants, I'm gonna stop this, this is bad. I'm gonna help humanity and save it by killing my dad. Now, sweet, Horus, on the side of the traitors, nice and handy dandy. One problem. There's a lot of Marines in these legions that were pretty down to go traitor that were still loyal. If push come to shove, they would side with the Imperium and with Terra. So he had to deal with it, which is where we get Istvan III. Now, I wish I can go deeper into Istvan III because of how absolutely phenomenal the book Galaxy in Flames is and how well it sets up how genuinely horrific this is. Reading a book, I never thought it'd be affected by a fucking war crime in 40k of all things. Like, it's normal. That's just part of the course. But anyways, so just to cut this thing short. Sons of Horus, Emperor's Children, World Eaters, and Death Guard all sent to Istvan III to root out a rebellion on Istvan III. When they all got there and started fighting, virus bombs started falling. Which virus bombs are host to these funny little diseases, man-made virus, that is called the Life Eater virus, that just straight up eats everything. It falls down, when it hits something, eats through metal, corrodes it near instantly, and just turns people into goo. And then eventually, once it's out of shit to eat, it eats itself and dies. Very quick dying virus. So they worked to kill everyone on Istvan III and all of these loyal Space Marines. It would have been way worse if a man known as Saul Tarvitz hadn't warned everybody, because he's fucking Chad. What a cool guy. What a good Emperor's Children. That's such a rare thing to say. And then also you get the events of the Flight of the Eisenstein where Nathaniel Garrow is able to get away and actually warn the Imperium about what's going down, the thing that probably single-handedly saved the Imperium in this giant ordeal, because Horus was gonna fucking win this if that didn't happen. And then you get the stuff like the Drop Site Massacre and the other major military engagements during the Horus Heresy, but whatever, we'll skip that. We're gonna go right to Horus's ascension, because this is actually a little interesting. So Horus traveled down to a planet of Moloch, a planet where Big E went down a long time ago to get the information to create the Primarchs and gain a lot more power, which, pretty big deal. Horus assumed he can go down there and get that same power, which turns out he was right. So there was a gate to the realm of chaos on Moloch, which he entered, and it turns out the Emperor made a deal with the Chaos Gods to get the information and power to create the Primarchs at a cost which the Emperor didn't pay out. He just said, nah, I'm not paying. Which, yeah, he decided to fuck off back to Terra and assume nothing would happen because, you know, he's the Emperor. Which is actually the reason the Chaos Gods immediately scattered the Primarchs. It was kind of angry at that whole event. Which then Horus went through the same gate and got the same offer. This time, without the deception or trickery, he actually would follow through on it. He gained the power that's near equitable to the Emperor. And in there, he went in, then came right back out, like pretty quickly. However, he aged considerably, as in some sort of like warp-charged, evil, hyperbolic time chamber, he was actually in there for a long-ass time, waging wars, sieging planets, raising armies of demons, like whole massive campaigning. Like he said he felt like he spent like an eternity in the warp. But he came out supercharged, crazy powerful, ridiculously strong, and he was ready to throw down. Though then he would immediately fucking lose it when Rust came out with the Spear of Rust, stabbed him, and he fell into another fucking coma. Like, come on, man, you got hit by that twice? That's, okay, I'm starting to think Abaddon had a point, honestly. But eventually Horus woke up, just with the nice little exchange of one of his main advisors just kind of dying, a life for a life. He rose up, now completely down with his chaos self, though in a really weird state where he was like shifting between forms of like normal Horus to like pure being of warp stuff. It was weird, to the point where even Lorgar was like, dude, this is strange. You're getting a little too deep into this, bud. I feel like that should put into scale. If Lorgar is the one to say you're taking chaos worship a little too far, that's something. But now he went to go siege Tarot. Whole big thing. Main event happened, you know, the battle of this art that you constantly see. Sanguinius came in, tired from his battle of a lot of fights, mortally wounded from Angron, which then Horus just slapped him down, because I don't know what Sanguinius was thinking with that front. I know, you know, the whole, I gotta go join the fight somehow, I'm not just gonna sit here, you're bleeding out dying. I know you're a Primarch, but like, you're not gonna do anything. But eventually Big E came in, they fought, didn't go as well. But Big E had to do something a little special. Because you see, chaos entities don't die, they respawn. So instead, Emperor had to do something a little funky and used a psychic blast so powerful, it literally erased Horus's soul from existence. Man will never revive. Though also, just for a little extra bit of sadness spice, the Emperor could sense as Horus died, right in that instant before his soul just poofed away, he sensed his son with the regret, no more chaos corruption. Sad shit, but, you know, things had to do. However, Horus did get a good hit in as he was getting, you know, deleted, and mortally wounded the Emperor, which tossed him right on the throne, where he still is now. And now the echoes of the War Master are there forever, to the point where the War Master title kind of got tossed away, because, like, the next guy in line was like, I feel a little weird using the same title, the Arch Traitor Dog. Can we change this to, like, something different? Which they did. And also, some Space Marine shenanigans happened. Mainly the Emperor's children doing a little bit of corpse stealing, because that's primarily what they did right at the end of the Horus Heresy. In fact, with this corpse, there's actually a clone of Horus that popped up, which now is just a blood stain on the floor of Fabius Bile's workshop, as he was the one to clone it, and then Abaddon came around, pulled a "you're not my real dad," and just completely murdered Horus, took over the title because the War Master failed. Abaddon is the new War Master, and then he proceeded to fail his crusade 12 times in a row until the 13th time worked and he broke Cadia. And now that Shadow Horus lives on in the Black Legion, where his sons of Horus changed their name because Abaddon was like, we're just gonna restart, dude. We're just gonna wipe the record clean with this one, just try something new. But yeah, that's Horus. So, not much else to say here. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, do that stuff. Join my membership. See ya.